That's how it recognizes what rooms to go into, what's inside the house and what's outside.
I believe no off-the-shelf components were used in the creation of this too. So talking about vacuum cleaners that have been in construction for many, many years with such extreme companies that have so much funding behind them. It's amazing that teams of undergraduate students can be performing the same tasks.
I think I just saw a glimpse of Rue on the screen before. I'm gonna have to get a photo with him before the end of my time here at the challenge. So adorable. That tiny little rover. That means the University of Wollongong is beginning their setup here for the excavation and construction task. They'll be on the pitch at 2:30 local time. Looks like they've swapped out their robotic arm again. Then the end effector showing off an impressive scooping mechanism. Hopefully we'll get to see that in action. Legendary still waiting for some more signs of life over there, over on pitch B.
It'll be amazing to see the different scooping techniques coming into play with this next team up. I wonder how different it's going to be from our international friends.
That's right, and we heard from UOW a bit earlier over in the workshop 10. They were saying they've done a lot of improvements on their design this year to really focus on weight reduction. We noticed earlier in the competition that they had one of the thinnest chassis of any other team on the pitch this week. So hopefully that reduction has really paid off for them.
You can also see that coming through in the wheels. The wheels look like they're 3D printed and a lot of material minimization.
Yeah, again, it's so fascinating to see all of the different approaches this week. The minimalist designs versus the ones with a much larger chassis but perhaps a less intense robotic arm.
Be interesting to see how the center of gravity goes with that really large arm on one side and such a thin chassis too.
Yeah, you make a really interesting point, Grace. And that calls back to some of the other attempts we've seen at construction or the use of any sort of payloads with end effectors or linear actuators throughout the challenge. Is that sometimes the rover itself gets lifted off of the ground. Because of that center of mass, it completely changes the balance. It looks like they're fitting Kanga's sidekick there, Rue. This deployment mechanism that they uses a technique called marsupial deployment. They've nicknamed the marsupial deployment pouch, really leaning into the theme here. I wonder if Rue can meet some of the animals from Animals Anonymous here today. I'd love to see that. Full team chatting with each other there. Careful coordination needed during this setup time. A reminder that two-way communications are allowed between the base station and the field team while this setup process is happening. So you'll see them communicating over the radio there. Once the team decides that they're ready, they'll walk away and that two-way communications will be cut off. And it looks like they have called it, potentially. Field team are walking away, some thumbs up. Ready to go. Radios put down. Oh, and looking over at pitch B, we just saw some wheels turning there. Oh, legendary rover team continuing to persist over here with their autonomous attempt, and it looks like there is some movement. Whether they have switched to non-autonomous or not, we'll find out soon. But their rover is on the move. Now, if it does go haywire, there's an emergency stop button fitted to all rovers in the event that it goes off the field. So don't panic for anyone there in the audience. Interesting. I'm wondering if the rover has sensed the edge of the crater. It's trying to navigate around it. It is making progress around the pitch. Just over 8 minutes remaining. Great to see this comeback in the final minutes of the task. Still plenty of time to try and nab some points. The team is pointing, but I can't see anyone controlling. Whoa, and University of Wollongong off to a start. A bit of a sliding start there. Skidding down that ramp, but all four wheels on the ground. And that's 5 points. Is this the marsupial deployment time? We'll find out. Would love to get a view on that. Talking about that center of mass, Grace, another thing that this team has to consider is the change in that center of mass when they descend the ramp to doing this deployment. Want to be really careful.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder what task that they're going to try and perform first, if they're going to go for the pavers or start shoveling some sand. So 36 minutes to go, the countdown starts. Also, not on the screen at the moment, but we're having some significant progress over on number B. The wheels are turning and we've got, we've just hit a rock over on B there. And it looks like it's digging into the sand, but we've reversed back and hopefully we're recovering. What a recovery.
So you would have seen some flashes on the base station view there. This is definitely autonomous still. That actually looked like the onboard computers on the rover were identifying the rock. You can see, yeah, look at that. So that is computer vision at work. This is what the rover sees. Definitely nothing like what the humans are seeing out here on the track. This is computer translated reality. Pretty insane stuff. Again, a reminder, student teams, people. These are students in their spare time.
And with degrees like they're doing, that's not much spare time.
You're exactly right. These people are eating, breathing, sleeping, and thinking about rovers this week. Check out that onboard camera view there from the legendary rover. I don't know how the base station feels right now. They've handed over control to their rover. It looks like there might be a little bit of manual intervention there. It's hard to tell. There are some hands on the controller. I'm sure we'll be able to get an interview with them later and find out exactly what's been happening here. Potentially in the remaining minutes, they've taken over. That 3D map means nothing to us, but it'll mean everything to the rover to identify objects that it must avoid. A reminder that while it's in autonomous mode, if it does collide with an object, that will result in a penalty. Incentivizing the teams to really focus on training their models to avoid collisions. Team watching on from the side there. Can see the tracks that it's made on the pitch. Definitely got going in those last 10 minutes. So we have just over 3 remaining. They are actually the last team to attempt mapping an autonomous for today. So all the rest of the action will be on pitch A for excavation and construction. Mapping an autonomous is certainly one of the most difficult and one of the most experimental tasks of the challenge. There's our reminder there, the Boeing mapping an autonomous task. You heard from Boeing earlier. These are some cutting-edge skills. We don't have rovers yet on the lunar surface that can operate fully autonomously. Even getting to semi-autonomous modes is extremely difficult. So to go from 0 to 100 with full autonomous, for any team to be able to achieve that in any capacity, just getting it to drive around, is a humongous achievement. This task often serves as a bit of a touchstone goal for some teams to develop after they've competed a few times. They've got those core systems on track. They'll start looking into developing that autonomy.
So just under a minute and a half to go, and we look like we've come to the stop again.
Base station team in deliberation. Even with just under a minute on the clock, you can see they haven't given up yet. They will have a presentation to deliver to the judges after this, so potentially they're trying to do as best as they can to get information about the coordinates that they need to deliver to the judges later in those final remaining seconds.
So as Georgia was saying before, this will be the last of this competition for today, but it speaks to such a real-world application on the moon, and having basic maps from the to train the rovers on is such a real-world application. If we have maps from satellites and places that we want to try and get to, this exact technology will need to be used.
And that is time up for Legendary Rover Team. A very commendable attempt there. Hopefully we can have a chat to them afterwards about their autonomous design and philosophy. But if that was autonomous the whole time, that is an amazing effort. Well, looking back over to pitch A, it seems like there might be a bit of a pause there as they look at the marsupial deployment. Came off with a roaring start off the lander, drove a little bit forward and has seemed to be stationary for a few minutes now. But we still have half an hour remaining. Seems like an intervention has been called and the toolbox is out. Doing a surgical operation on Roo there. Extract that rover from whatever might have gotten stuck. Again, these rovers have to survive 4 days of rigorous testing in a ruggedized terrain. So you can imagine, by the 3rd and 4th days, some of these systems will start to get pretty worn out. And keeping them going is yet another challenge that students have to consider. I think while we let them fix that up, we're going to throw it back again to our friends Fida and Sophia. Throw to you guys in the workshop.
Hey everyone, we've got something really exciting here with the Swinburne University team. I've got Darcy here. Tell us a bit about yourself first. What are you studying? What year are you in?
So I'm a 3rd year mechanical engineering student, part of the Swinburne Rover team. Originally from Perth, moved over, and studying in Melbourne.
Cool. All right. So as you can see over here, we've got something really cool in terms of Rover. Tell me, we were having a chat just before. Let's start with the suspension. Tell me a bit about the suspension.
So we've gone with a double wishbone or quadruple wishbone. It's fully 3D printed. We've got full 360 pivot steering on each corner, and 3D printed cycloidal gearboxes. We've taken a really new approach to the Rover competition.
Awesome. You're talking about the 3D printing. You said that some of the wheelbase here was printed in one piece. That must have been a real challenge. How did you get around that?
So it's a one-piece 19-hour print on a custom 3D printer. It's all ABS glass fiber, and so extra strength.
Cool. Awesome. In terms of the wheels, I noticed you were talking about this before as well. The wheels are from last year's Monash wheels, What are the advantages, disadvantages of these wheels?
So they're beach buggy wheels. They performed really well on the sand. They've got a wide surface area, and they just float along. They're really good.
Awesome. And is there any other details, cool things you want to share about the Rover?
We've used as much carbon fiber as we can, all online, and as much printing as we can.
Yeah, so as you can see here, it's really cool. One of the more bigger in terms of size. How close were you to the design restrictions?
We were on the limit of the 1.6 meters. We had to chop down the chassis a bit. We were over originally, but that was not a big deal. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, really cool. Really excited to see it out again. We have another exciting thing to present as well. Another character from WA. We've got Queenie over here, which is our little quokka here. Awesome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about quokkas?
Yeah, so quokkas are found in Western Australia, mainly on Rottnest Island. But these beautiful girls always lived with people here in South Australia. But little herbivores, they love to munch on all the fresh leaves. Very, very friendly, very curious animals, as you can see.
These ones are pet friendly, so we can pet these ones. They're super cute. But we're having a chat before how the ones in Rottnest Island we shouldn't be patting. Do you want to talk a little bit about why that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of our wild animals, you've got something to say. All of our wild animals we do need to respect, give them lots of space. Unfortunately, human interaction can interfere with them in the wild sometimes. So don't feed them or pat them, just give them lots of space.
So we'll have ants around all over here, so feel free to come by and pet them yourselves. Awesome. Thank you both. Back to you guys.
Wow, Fida, you really pulled out all the stops there on that interview. The biggest rover in the workshop and a quokka. Amazing stuff. Animals Anonymous have been here to introduce some of our international friends to some classic Australian wildlife. I got to pet a tawny frogmouth before. Super, super cute. And a snake. Now the intervention has finished and it looks like UOW are back in action. You can see the robotic arm has started to be deployed there. Rue was also out on the field giving some signs of life. Look at it go. Kicking around in the sand. For everyone who's heard me talk non-stop about this rover, that will never get old.
Does it look like to you, Georgia, that the little robot out there is of the same design as the larger one, just at a smaller scale?
We were wondering this the other day, and it's got completely different wheels, which is quite cool because whether that's, testing in a future design or they've considered that additional traction is going to be needed for that smaller rover to jet through the regolith. It's so cute. Just handles that regolith with ease in the flat terrain. It's so fast. The little periscope camera on top. We saw an incredibly good use of this yesterday in the post-landing task and the space resources task, where Rue was able to act like an external camera, giving the team a view of their primary rover while it was trying to identify some sites to extract resources from. And as we see Rue getting set up, potentially checking out some of the later tasks that the team has to achieve, primary rover is maybe going for the tile placement. Looks like it's trying to get some pavers there. Bit of a nasty looking hook system on the back. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that while it's in operation.
The little robot design is such an interesting take on this competition. It really goes to demonstrate what could be done on the lunar surface. Having one large robot popping out little babies that can go off and perform subtasks could be a huge time saver, and we could start to cover a lot more information and information gathering from all different aspects.
You're so right about the time saving. Efficiency is key. We had some interviews earlier in the week. Dr. Jason Armstrong from Boeing, if you go back to day one of the live stream, you'll see him talking about how time is money when we talk about operations on the lunar surface. It's also really expensive to get payloads in orbit in general. I think I heard that to get a bottle of water to the International Space Station, that costs $2,500. So if we can take lots of small robots to do tasks, or a big robot and a little robot, and really maximize your efficiency to reduce the time to do a task, that is all going to be adding up in the long term for the success of your mission. And similarly, preventing your astronauts from exhausting themselves by doing a really arduous task that a little robot like this could achieve much less time and energy. Really getting amongst the debris there, checking it all out. Wait, Grace, is that a new payload on the front? I wonder if they're using the smaller rover to move the rocks while the big one tackles the pavers. My mind will be blown if that does happen.
That is a really interesting point. If that's what they are doing, they're essentially clearing a path to protect their larger rover. That could be a really efficient way to go about this operation, and it could also save a lot of money by protecting their larger rover, sending out a little scout first.
A little scout, I love it. Scout and Rue. Rue the Scout.
Those hooks have engaged with something over here, and there looks like there's a lot of action. So they've linked up all the panels, and now they seem to be deploying them out, potentially reaching that 1.1 square meter.
Heard a few cheers. As the arm comes down to try and place those pavers. Quite an innovative system, a bit like a bridge. Sort of accordion layout as those hooks engaged with the handle there.
Again, it's a really efficient system. Everything's still interconnected. And thinking about space on board rockets, that could be a really efficient way to get a lot of material out there. It would require less space on board.
Why is it trying to push it?
Rover absolutely leaping over some of those bits of debris.
He's trying to push it. He's trying to push it.
The thing about having a smaller robot is that the small boulders become rather large.
You're absolutely right. Almost life-size in this instance. You can see on the cameras there. Rue must be terrified of the rocks in front of it. Going into battle for Kanga, which is out on the field still, satisfied with the paver placement potentially, moving on to another task.
The purpose of the smaller rover still eludes us a little bit. It'll be interesting to see this unfold. The main rover is on the move, potentially to start collecting some lunar regolith.
Does look like that is the case as it heads over to the designated regolith acquisition zone. Can't just collect regolith from any area, it has to go to a special spot. We need this regolith for constructing berms, which we mentioned earlier could be crucial in the future for protecting assets on the lunar surface from micrometeorite impacts and the harshness of repeated lunar landings, or kicking up that dust which Grace talked about was highly electrostatic, pretty abrasive as well. See a good view of the two rovers there. Looks like Rue's catching up with his buddy. I don't know about anyone else watching at home. Potentially I've been watching so many of these rovers now. They've all started to get a little bit of a personality for me. Rue's just a little bit cheeky, doing some donuts in the regolith. And it's interesting too, thinking about that cooperation between humans and robots in the future on the lunar surface. Quite likely here on Earth as well. If we give these robots a bit of a personality and like having a pet, it'll improve the well-being of astronauts when they're so far away from Earth.
Yeah, human factors up there come into play quite significantly. Humans on the moon will encounter such different environments. They'll also be exposed to contact deprivation in some respect and have to spend large amounts of time with the same people or not many people at all. So having robots that are able to make them laugh or make them amused could be a rather good benefit.
Reminds me of that film Castaway. Tom Hanks on an island and had his pet volleyball, Wilson. I think I'd be pretty happy if I was stuck with Kangaroo and Roo on another planet.
The base station called for an intervention. You can turn your walkie-talkies on. Intervention? What for? I hear them. I know, but like, what for?
It's an intervention, and can you please have the field team just pick up their radio? I got them. We need an intervention, please. We need to put out
Or another intervention, perhaps.
You can see the team coming out onto the field now. Potentially a wheel repair. No? A little bit of discussion going on. While they figure out what's going on over there, we've got another interview lined up, so we'll pass over.
Hi there, it's Sophia back at the workshop. We've currently got 2 people from the Monash Rover team here. Would you guys mind introducing yourself and what year you're in?
Yeah, Zach. I'm currently the chassis lead at Monash Nova Rover. I'm a 4th year student studying a double degree in mechanical engineering and science, where I study astrophysics and chemistry.
And I'm Tristan. I am the Chief Technical Officer at Monash Nova Rover, and I'm in my 6th year of robotics and physics.
Yeah, wonderful. So Monash was on during the morning. They were doing the excavation and construction. So would you guys mind telling us a bit about the design of your robot, specifically the payload? You were mentioning before that you had an arm and a forklift. Can you give us a bit more details about that?
Yeah, of course. So we design our chassis to be very modular so that we can interchange payloads across these different tasks. Today we completed, as you said, the excavation and construction task. For this task we had our front loader, which we refer to as the scraper, which we used to dig regolith and also collect rocks to deploy. And we also had what we refer to as our forklift on the back of the rover, which we used to pick up our tile placer payload, move it, and then pull our tiles out from the payload.
Wonderful, that's fantastic. We also seem to be joined by 2 other guests. Thank you for joining us in today. Wonderful. Yeah, I guess I'll just also ask, how do you feel about the rest of the challenge? Like, how you're going with your progress and the other tasks today?
Yeah, I think we've been really happy with how our systems have been performing. We've got a large team here with us, and everyone's been putting in all their effort and helping out wherever they can. It's been fantastic to see the camaraderie in the team and all that. And yeah, just really proud of everyone and the effort they've put in up to the competition and the time before.
Certainly. Thank you so much for having the interview today, and we'll back to the pictures.
Thank you for that wonderful interview. We had some skeletons in the background there as well. I'm glad to see that the spirits are so high. So back on the field, the repair team has headed off again, but there's still maybe discussion going on. Still some movement from our little friends down here. So situations like this are very likely to occur on the moon, and it's all about how we mitigate them. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong, and these are challenges that we're going to have to deal with in the future.
That's a perfect point there. If things can go wrong, they likely will go wrong. That's something that engineers have to think about all the time when they're designing space missions, is this idea of redundancy. Having as many redundant systems as you can fit, while also considering weight requirements and budget requirements and time requirements, all feed into the design of a payload for a space mission and a rover like this as well. Potentially having two rovers could act like a redundancy here if they are able to complete similar types of tasks, but maybe not everything the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And trying to avoid single points of failure for critical systems is such an important factor. We're starting to see some shoveling of the regolith, and that looks like a successful grab. The rover is moving around and looks like it's going to deposit the sand it has collected.
We have heard word from the judges that Rue is stuck in that crater. Hopefully, it can be saved by some brave astronauts during the next field reset. So we see it one more time tomorrow in the mapping and autonomous task. There it is there. Just a little too exploratory today. Got itself trapped.
It's also interesting that those hooks used for the paver section are on the tip of the shovel. I wonder how that impacts the collection of the little regolith.
Yeah, it's an interesting observation. Let's watch closely as they go for the next scoop.
Still plenty of time on the clock, just under 7 minutes, and that's more than enough time to keep collecting some regolith.
Bit of an interesting camera in that top left there too. Some kind of night vision-esque black and white mode, high contrast. Wonder if that's a test of a type of autonomous camera. If it's just a way to see the regolith a bit easier.
Yeah, the high contrast could be really useful for that autonomous system as it shows the points that are most different. So the rover is at the collection point again and has a rather large amount of regolith in its grasp. And it looks like it's heading back over.
That smooth turning on a dime there. Not all rovers have this ability here in the challenge. Some of them need to drive forward, turn the wheels, and then complete a rotation maneuver like that. But the UOW team's rover can do it on the spot. Not easy to develop in software. Another successful dump of regolith for the berm construction. Just 5 minutes remaining. Are they going to go back for rounds 3, maybe even 4, maybe even 5? Like Grace just said, one round seems to take them a couple of minutes. There's still plenty of time left to go for another grab. Might be able to see what the hooks do this time. The angle is going to be quite interesting here. Something hard for the base station operators to see is that entry and exit angle to not accidentally lose the regolith that you've tried to collect. It's getting a bit greedy, don't you think? Some careful movements there. You can see that camera attached just above where the scoop is. It's a depth sense, real sense camera used for computer vision. Potentially that's what the camera is in the top left corner, indicating that that might be being used for the mapping an autonomous task, or potentially as another high quality camera for the team.
And we're on the way again. With 3 minutes left, we can probably go for another round here. Just looking back at the Rover configuration as well, having the thin chassis system really allows you to have a high clearance off the ground. That looks like a successful delivery of more regolith, and hopefully back for more. Time remaining is sitting at pretty much 2 minutes now. The team should be getting pretty excited about their hard efforts.
They're going to have to be speedy now if they want to get those final remaining points on offer. Go, go, go. We're holding our breath as there is just under a minute and a half remaining. Can they get into that collection zone? Looks like they've potentially gotten the job done. 50 seconds on the clock. Where are they going to go next? One more cheeky swipe at some regolith. Will they call time? 30 seconds remaining. Nope. I think they're going back, Grace. Just 20 seconds. Or not. Maybe a final finish maneuver.
They've definitely got this. 10 seconds.
A nice pirouette finish there. Looks like they're just having fun as they wrap up, and well done to the University of Wollongong. Give them a round of applause. Fabulous effort today, and good experimentation as well with their smaller Rover Roo. Sure, again, so many lessons learned if they want to take that approach again next year. What a good base to start. Or lunar base, I should say. So just 5 minutes away from the next team on the pitch. Foul. So the University of Wollongong taking their rover off the field. So many different approaches to that excavation and construction task team today. Just like we've seen actually for all of the tasks from post-landing to space resources. We've said throughout the week, every team is adhering to the same rules and regulations, but you can see